Determining correct exposure. Just because we're using a flash doesn't mean we don't still have to worry about exposure. Because we can, if we're not careful, we can still get photos that are too bright or photos that are too dark. So we have to still be aware of exposure control. And when we're determining correct exposure, there's a couple things we have to keep in mind. One of the things we need to know is how bright our flash is, or the power of our flash unit. And the power of the flash unit is expressed by a number called the guide number. Please write that in your notes. The power of the flash unit, so how bright it's going to be, is expressed as a number called the guide number. So when you buy a flash, when you go out and purchase a flash for your camera, you want to know what the guide number of that flash is, because it'll tell you how bright it is. Question? Sure. So the guide number tells you how powerful the flash is. The larger the flash's guide number, the more powerful it is, the brighter it's going to be. So you need to know what the guide number of the flash is. The other thing you need to know is you need to know how far away the subject is when you go to take a photo. Because what happens to light as it travels? It gets dimmer, exactly right. Think about it. You know, we're standing here on planet Earth, the third rock from the sun. And when the sun rises, you know, in the morning and is at zenith at noon, it's pretty freaking bright. Because the Earth is relatively close to the sun. But think about Pluto. Way, 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 way out there in our solar system. It is really, really far away from the sun. And so the light hitting it is fairly what? It's very dim. In fact, actually, it could be difficult if you were on Pluto to figure out which one of those things is the sun. Because the light from the sun has to travel so far that it has diluted, it's spread out. Right? Let me tell you a quick story and I'll finish with this. Last summer, I went with my sons to the Grand Canyon. We were there for a Boy Scout outing. We were hiking down to the Grand Canyon, hiking back out. And I've been to the Grand Canyon a few times. So show of hands, who's never been to the Grand Canyon? Seriously, guys, how is that possible? You guys live in Arizona. It's like one of the wonders of the world. All right, so just for those of you guys who raised your hand, please make me a promise that this summer you'll go see the Grand Canyon, okay? At any rate, and I will tell you, by the way, the north rim of the Grand Canyon, I think, is much prettier than the south rim. So if you have a choice, go to the north rim, much prettier. In the pine trees, a lot less tourists, blah, blah, blah. At any rate, this last summer, I was at the rim of the canyon. We were at the south rim this time. And I was there with my sons, and we hiked in, and we hiked back out. And, you know, because we hiked in and hiked back out, we were really tired. And so we were sitting there at the rim of the canyon. We were taking photos. And I had been taking photos all day long. And eventually got to the point where I was just done taking photos. I just wanted to enjoy sitting there on the rim. So we're sitting there on the rim of the canyon. It's about 8 o'clock at night. And so at 8 o'clock at night, of course, in Phoenix, now the sun is starting to set. So it's starting to get darker and darker and darker. And so I'm seeing people, they're still taking photos. That makes sense, you know. And so I'm seeing people with cameras, not unlike this one here. But most of them do not have a flash like this on top. In fact, in most cases, they're just using the same flash on top of the camera, like this little pop-up one here, right? So this little teeny flash on top, right? Now remember, they're at the edge of the Grand Canyon taking photos, right? Again, I want to emphasize the freaking Grand Canyon, all right? So they're at the edge of the Grand Canyon, they're taking photos, right? They got this little pop-up flash, right, going on, because again, the sun is setting, so it's getting darker and darker. And I'm sitting there in my little chair, and I'm watching people take photos, and you know, their flash is going off. And so they're doing what a lot of us do. They snap a photo, and then they're looking at the back of the camera. They're getting really, really frustrated, right? Because as they're taking their photos, what they're seeing is the light. They're looking at their picture, and they can see like the dirt, like leading up to the edge of the Grand Canyon. And then beyond that is what? Dark. Just dark. It's just like this black chasm, right? And I'm sitting there doing probably what you guys would be doing, which is I'm laughing to myself a little bit, right? Because, I mean, think about it. Look at this little flash. This little teeny flash on top of here. At the south rim of the Grand Canyon, right? If you look from the south to the north rim, it's like 20 miles across, right? 20 miles, and it's like a mile deep, right? And there are people taking photos of the Grand Canyon, thinking somehow that this little flash is going to produce enough light to fill the Grand Canyon with light, right? You know what? Yeah, even if I had this flash and this flash, it's not powerful enough. Because what happens to light as it travels? It spreads out. So by the time the light, I mean, if you took a photo with a flash, even someone down inside the canyon looking up probably wouldn't see that flash go off. When you're taking a photo of something, if it's really far away, that flash better be really, really bright to get a good photo, right? Well, even longer exposure, if you're in a deep, dark cave, and you open up the shutter and you leave it open for forever, it won't matter, because there's just no light there. So you need to know, when you're using a flash, you still need to know, okay, how far away is my subject? Because if they're really far away, flash is just not going to do it. Or, if they're really far away, I'm going to need a really powerful flash, right? Just like a flashlight, right? I got 3 little flashlights here, right? Anybody buy a flashlight recently? The cool thing now, when you buy a flashlight nowadays, almost all flashlights nowadays will tell you like how bright the flashlight is, right? So it'll say like, oh, this flashlight is like 10 lumens, or this flashlight is, it used to be candle power. That's what they'd say, this flashlight is 100 candle power. Now they use lumens as a metric. So like a little flashlight like this is probably only about 10 lumens at best, right? You probably wouldn't, if you're in a deep dark cave, you probably don't want this little flashlight, right? I mean, this one here, a little bit better, right? I think this flashlight, I don't remember for sure, I want to say it's about 45 lumens or whatever. What do you really want? A maiden. You want this big, this big mag light, right? And so you want this light that's going to produce a lot of light, right? Same thing with a flash. If you're taking a photo of something and you have a really big area and it's totally dark, you need a really big flash. And so you need to know what the power of the flash unit is. And again, what's that number? It's known as the what? The guide number. Where's it now? It's not on the flash. Now, that's not entirely true. Some flashes, the model number is the guide number. Not always. Normally, you would have to find that, where do you think? In your book, exactly right. So what you would have, I think I have, yeah. So when you purchase a flash, just like when you purchase a camera, it's going to be in your manual. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to look up in my manual what the guide number is. And the reason I want to know that also is because the guide number is going to help you figure out one very other important variable when taking flash photographs. It's going to tell you how wide or how close down what's going to be. Aperture, exactly right. Because if I'm taking a photo of somebody very close, if I was taking a photo of PJ here who's only about 5 feet away from me, do you think I want my aperture all the way open? No, because if I did, what would my photo end up probably looking like? Overexposed. So when I take a flash photo, I am going to adjust my aperture based on how close or far away the subject is, and based upon that other value, which I said was the guide number. That's what we're going to pick up next week. Make sense? Yep. All right. Awesome job, guys.